What is up? It's Lit Book Reviews. I'm Brad Pitt. Denzel Washington is with me yet again today. We are about to talk about Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this is a book in the cosmere from Brandon Sanderson, but it is currently a standalone as of July of 2023. We've both just recently read this. And to start off, I'm going to read the back so everybody knows what we're talking about. This is what you can see on the back of the book if you buy it. No spoilers. Tettalir, however you say it, Tettalir, capital of Halandrin, is a colorful city by the sea where colorful crowds bustle through sunny streets and worship heroes who have been reborn as gods. Ruled by the silent, mysterious god king, the pantheon is nourished by offerings of breath, the life force that keeps them youthful. Exiled in Idris, the former royal family reluctantly betrothed a princess to the god king. Arriving in Tettalir, she finds both the city and the marriage are not at all what she expected. Her only ally is Lightsong, a god who is skeptical of his own divinity, who fears that war with Idris is inevitable. Meanwhile, another new arrival in Tettalir, one who bears the sentient sword Nightblood, makes cunning plans based on the unique magic of Halandrin, which uses color to focus the power of breath, plans that could change the world.
That was a long back,
Yeah, it
honestly.
is a long back. I also kind of struggled because I don't actually know how to read. This is all a farce. But Brandon Sanderson, you may know him from the Stormlight Archive, the Mistborn Saga, and several other things, Elantris, all kinds of stuff. Again, this is a standalone. I really enjoyed this. I guess we'll start out. I'm just going to give it a rating. I think I actually gave it a 5, man. If it's a 10-point system.
I think I did too.
10-point system, it wouldn't be a 10.
No.
But I actually really, really enjoyed this book, man.
Oh, me too.
I really enjoyed it. The magic system is so cool. At first, I was a little skeptical of the magic system. I was like, what is this exactly? But once I figured out what was going on, I was like, wow, this is pretty sick. Love the characters.
There are some cool characters. There are some cool characters.
There are some sick characters, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Typical Brandon Sanderson writing, I will say, it's definitely not anything like, and I've only read 2 Sanderson books. I've read...
This came out in 2009, by the way.
Oh, really?
So
this is... Okay. So I've only read The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. It's obviously not better than those. And Edge Dancer.
And Edge Dancer. You can't forget about Edge Dancer.
Yes, I can. It was definitely better than Edge Dancer. Not better than the 2 Stormlight books that I just mentioned. But, I mean, it's one of the... And again, this is in my novice fantasy career. It's a really good book, man. It was really good. What are your
We're still on
thoughts?
non-spoiler thoughts right now, right?
Yeah, not just non-spoiler thoughts.
Yeah, it's an easier read for sure. It kind of gives you, if someone's never read Sanderson, like it would be somewhere where you could start, and it's not like the buy-in of 1,200 pages.
Mm-hmm. It's a perfect place to start.
It is. I will say, obviously, it's a ramp down. We haven't read Mistborn yet, so maybe Mistborn's written more in this style. I will say it's a way easier read than a Stormlight.
Yeah, way less going on.
But no, it is good. The characters are good. It's fast paced. I read this one like really fast.
Yeah, it was.
I remember reading it.
Yeah, it was like 4 days, I think.
Yeah, I read this one really quick. I mean, it isn't.
People are gonna hear that and be
book.
like, "I read that in 2 hours."
Exactly. Let me see. It's 646 pages, at least right here. On Goodreads. So, oh yeah, did I give it a review? I gave it. I think I gave it a 5 on Goodreads, honestly.
Yeah.
And like you said, out of 10, it's not a 10. And it may not even be a 9 for me.
Nice. Good old dog. Rush. Sorry, I have a dog. I have 2 dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Is that Jeb, you think?
I think Jeb's probably home.
Jeb's home.
Perfect time.
Shout out to Jeb. If you haven't seen Freaky.
Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton.
You want to see the guy who has the worst lines of all time? I promise you that guy went to church. We were there with him.
And he's a great guy. I mean, one of the greatest guys I know. And he said some
We're not in church currently, but he still is, even though it looks like he's not. I promise you he is. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah. So my rating, I wouldn't even say it's a 9. I'd say it's close. It's like an 8.8 for me.
Yeah. I could live with that. 8,
I wonder, though, if I've never read the Stormlight Archive, I would probably give it a 9.
Yeah,
in the 9s, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just because I've read the 4, everything that's out for Stormlight, and I mean, those books are just so good. But this does add depth to Stormlight. So especially
again in the cosmere
for certain characters, there's a character that shows up, which apparently he shows up in a lot of stuff too. But then there's just more things about the world that give you depth to Stormlight. So that is cool, like a lot of the tidbits too. Which it's interesting to think that he wrote this in 2009 though. So he wrote this before Stormlight. Yeah. Knowing that.
And there's supposed to be more. It's supposed to end up being a series.
Yeah,
so.
It does say Warbreaker 1. So, yeah, on Goodreads, it's got a 4.3 rating with 176,000 ratings, 13,000 reviews. So,
wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. Very good book. I would say to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, it's definitely a little less dense than Stormlight. It's a little easier Sanderson read.
A lot easier. I would say less world building.
Yeah, less world building.
But but good world building for it's not a standalone obviously now, but like at the time for a standalone.
Yeah, I felt like it was just very story driven. Yeah. Like there's definitely character development, different things, but there's also characters that you get almost no development for, and then in the end it's like whoa. So which is on purpose to a degree, but little bait and switch, but it's still very good. I recommend this book. I actually just recently recommended it to a friend that wants to get into Sanderson. I recommended this one first, and I would say if you've never read Sanderson, and this is coming from someone who's only read 4 Sanderson books total, but it seems to me that if you don't want to get into a series just yet, and you want to just break into Sanderson, this is the best thing for you to read because it is really good Sanderson. It's not his best work because some of his best work is impossible to beat by anyone, in my opinion, but yeah, I would say this is a really good read. It's very entertaining. It's very it like keeps you it's very keeping you guessing. Like it is different than what we were talking about a minute ago with Abercrombie.
I'd say some stuff is kind of predictable, but it's predictable so it keeps you going, and then there's some stuff at the end that you think is going to happen and then it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
So, which I think is probably intentional, that some of the stuff that is predictable.
And what's also really cool, I like this, especially knowing that it's going to be a series, the way it ends very quickly. Not in a sense that it's not that you don't get closure. You do get that, but there's a lot of just specifics that you don't get to see happen. You just know, okay, this is the end, and you kind of get to imagine what's going to happen next, which I think is really cool because it's very heavily focusing on just the story of Warbreaker, of leading up to that culmination point.
You don't need a lot of other context at all. You can just drop right into this and read it. So I do agree. I would say though, if it depends on who is asking. If someone's like, "Hey, I want to read Sanderson," and you're like, "Oh, dude, this guy eats literature."
Oh yeah.
I'm not recommending Warbreaker first.
Yeah, no.
Because what technically again is the order? Like you're supposed to read The Way of Kings and then Warbreaker, and then The Words of Radiance.
Well, I mean, technically...
this is not a spoiler.
All cosmere, you should read Mistborn and Warbreaker before you even start Stormlight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, as far as what you're saying, if you're going to get into the Stormlight and you want to read Warbreaker, you should only read Way of Kings first, just because there are some things that'll be a little more... It'll just be cooler. It's not pertinent to the story. It's not like you're not going to understand.
Just for context, cool. I read it after. We both
so did I. Yeah, I read it after.
Yeah, we both read it after Words of Radiance, which Words of Radiance is the book where there's some stuff that ties in.
Yeah, but it's very minor stuff. It's really just more of a, oh, that's cool. I know a backstory to that thing or that person or whatever.
I wonder if it's the same, though, going the other way, because we know that it's the same way for us. It's like, oh, we know what this is, but we don't know. True. You know what I mean?
It's just almost the opposite. Reverse. We know the future of this.
Yeah, but we don't know the origin.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
and we still don't know the origin.
Well, no, we do. We do.
Yeah, you're right. We do.
But we don't know. There's still some things we don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that for the spoilers part.
So still staying in non-spoiler. I mean, it's hard to talk about these books for me without spoiling stuff because
me too.
When we start getting into characters and certain things.
But you would recommend this book if you're someone who's just an average reader. It's not like something that's super complex for you to understand. It's not something that you have to have read other things to like understand the world. It's a quick read. It's fast paced, character driven. You said story driven as well. Like, it's nothing that. Yeah. It's no Dune or Three Body where it's like, do I have to know science to know this book? Yeah. No, it's a quick.
Yeah, but it's very original, and there are subtle little twists that just make it more and more interesting. And it just kind of builds, man. It just It builds. I mean, the Sanderlanch is real. The Sanderlanch is real.
It is.
So the last 70 pages of this book, I couldn't put it down.
That's true.
So yeah, highly recommend. Like you just said, like my friend Denzel just said, if you're a reader, which I imagine a lot of people are on this, and not that we're some reading experts or some gods at reading by any means, but I would say, and again, this is coming from somebody who hasn't read Mistborn or all of Stormlight, but the way I read was Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Edge Dancer, and then Warbreaker. And I'm lit.
You were satisfied.
So I was.
You still gave it 5.
Satisfied. Oh, I mean, they've all gotten 5 except Edge Dancer. Edge Dancer got a 4. I rated it for what it was, and it got a 4.
I gave it a 3, just for everybody out there wondering. All right, so spoilers. Are we ready for spoilers?
All right, let's head into spoilers. If you have not read Warbreaker and you want to read it without knowing what's going to happen, definitely tune out because we're going to get into the juicy stuff. So spoil away, brother.
All right, so I just want to start on characters. So I'll go down the list. I have the 4 POV characters here, and we can just talk about them for however long, and then whatever. All right, so the first person I have on here is Siri. I guess if that's how you say her name, just for some context again for anyone out there too, because dude, I'm so bad with names. Jesse's good with them. So she is from Idris. She's the youngest daughter of the king. She's sent to Halandrin in replacement of her sister Viv. She's very headstrong and not trained in the royal court. It's kind of just like what I wrote, synopsis of her. And honestly, that could honestly be a non-spoiler. Yeah. Well, I guess the sent replacement is a spoiler, but
yeah, she's kind of. She's like for lack of a better term, like the black sheep, but not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, to a degree, to some
she shouldn't have a purpose.
Yeah,
everybody
the
else.
older sister is inheriting or is supposed to marry the God King, and then the second one is the one that's supposed to be in case the first one dies. So
I thought and then there was one though. I thought that was the son.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
So one goes to religion.
The son inherits. The second daughter is the one, because in Idris, one daughter is supposed to go into the nunnery essentially. So you had your daughter that marries the God King, or is supposed to. You have your son that's inheriting. You have your daughter that's going to the nunnery. So Siri is just kind of a girl that enjoys her life. Rides horses, runs around, always getting into shenanigans. And then
she doesn't take things too seriously.
No. And then very quickly at the beginning of the book, her dad switches it up and sends her to marry the God King. And you're just like, whoa.
Which ends up being a great call.
Great call.
But in the beginning, you're like, what's going on?
He didn't mean for it to be a great call. No. He was ready for her to die if it came to that.
He was sending her to the wolves, dude. But so what are your thoughts? Do you like her? Do you not like her?
So I really, really like Siri.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite. She's honestly, that's crazy to say because there's so many characters. But as far as all of Sanderson's work,
so just to give you context, the 4 POV characters are Siri, Vivenna, Lightsong, and Vasher.
So
of those 4,
she's not my favorite of those 4. But
me either. She's probably 2 for me.
Yeah, she's probably
2 or 3.
2 or 3. But she's great. I really like her. Sanderson wrote her so well because she is uneducated, if you will, in what she's heading into. She is unexperienced, but she's a very headstrong character, and it takes a minute for her to really open up in that way. She has
real world knowledge though, because she just doesn't have anything to do. It seems like she's just able to go do whatever she wants, so she's kind of driven by her own desires, which in a way ends up helping her because she doesn't take things too seriously,
and she has that outsider perspective, whereas her sister would have been so about the
rules,
proper customs, and this is what I need to do, whereas Siri pretty quickly is
analyzes him hey,
she's
this ain't
wait,
right.
This is weird. And it's because this is kind of a cool life thing that happens a lot too, because she didn't have the perspective you're quote unquote supposed to have. She actually saw things that Viv probably would not have, that helped her stay alive and helped her accomplish goals and that kind of thing.
I don't know if you felt this way, but for me, when I first started reading it, I kind of, and I guess it's the first couple chapters when you don't really get I'm just gonna say Viv, because is it Vivenna?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Vivenna, but Viv is...
Whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of thought Viv, might be, a Jasna-esque. I thought, dude, I might really like Viv. She might be super confident and, really, not that she wasn't smart, but she was only smart in one specific way, which you end up seeing, obviously, later on in the book.
Right.
And then it's just that total flip. I just remember in the beginning thinking... I kind of wanted to see more of Viv and kind of less of Siri, because she kind of felt almost like YA to me, but she ends up not and actually having real depth.
Yeah. Whereas Viv, I ended up
Viv is 4 out of 4 for me.
Dude, I ended up being
and
very angry
4 is
with
not
her
1.
chapters. Yeah.
4 is 4.
4 is 4. 4 is the end of the POV characters. And she does have great development, and in the end you're like, all right, Viv, you did your thing. But her middle story, bro, of her being down on herself and like all this stuff, which again, it felt like natural to a degree, but after a point it was like, okay, I'm tired of reading chapters of you just like complaining and being down on yourself.
No, for sure.
But
and just to give some context, she's the oldest daughter of the King of Idris. She's supposed to marry the God King, and obviously her sister Siri goes instead. But instead of staying back, she follows her sister to try and help her.
Yeah, because the expectation is she's whichever one of them it would have been. It was supposed to be Viv. The expectation was we're going into, like you said, to be fed to the wolves. This God King is probably going to completely abuse me, and like it's going to be a horrible life. Yeah. So in her mind, she's like, I have to go save and protect my sister.
Exactly.
So that is a very
which
noble
is honorable.
thing.
Yeah,
very noble. Like,
and I think that's why I liked her a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you also kind of feel like, all right, she doesn't have a plan, but she's going to figure a plan out,
right?
Because she's smart and educated, and like, and then you even kind of like homie that's with her. Which
Denth,
rip.
Dude, I loved Denth. I loved Denth. I mean, that moment killed me. Oof. When she walks in and her boy's dead, and Denth is just like, oh man,
see you later, man.
It's like, whoa. But okay, so
you don't like Vivenna.
I like her, but of all the characters, of all the main POV characters, least favorite.
There were chapters where I'm like, but the thing is though, her surrounding cast is probably if we had to rank all characters. Yeah. Because even though the dudes, I mean, I should have them written down.
Yeah, Denth in a talk or something. TikTok, what's his name?
Wait, so you're talking about Denth? No, I'm talking about not. Oh, you were talking about Denth. Yeah, so I was confusing Denth with the guy from Idris who comes with her, who like she thinks likes him.
Yes.
What's his name? I should have written it down. Minor characters: Denth, Lilamar, Blush Weaver. No, I don't have.
Starts
it
with a P. I'm pretty sure it starts with a P.
Anyway, he was,
that moment's sad too. At one point,
she walks in. That's when she finds out, and that is also the double dagger of the Denth thing too.
Yeah. So
overall thoughts on her?
She's a 4. I'd give 4 out of 4. Siri is either 2 or 3 out of 4. I'm probably gonna figure out as we talk about the next.
So Lightsong is the next one I have. He's a god in the Halandran court.
This is my
and
boy.
This could be wrong here. I have God of boldness, but he's also God of something else, and I just forgot what it was as I was reading. And he's someone who like doesn't feel at place with the gods, and he feels like he keeps like remembering things from the past. And he's like one of the few gods that is actually like trying to dive into that. Whereas I guess in the religion, it's like, hey, you're a god now. Your past doesn't matter.
Yeah. So Lightsong is my favorite character in the book. Lightsong, dude.
Okay.
The concept of a god not believing in himself
that is cool.
Was absolutely legendary to me. The fact that he stuck with that and was like, no matter what, something is not right here.
Yeah.
And it's not even that he was necessarily right, but it was his way of getting to his culmination in the end, which I'll go ahead and say is, I mean, dude, like I cried a little bit. I was like, holy crap.
Especially with, what is it? I could never, he called him
Laramar?
Scoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, ends up being his brother. Oh, dude, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So since we're in spoiler, the whole purpose of these gods is that they are supposed to, there's not like a time frame on it or anything, but eventually each of these returned gods, which a returned god is just a person who did something in their death that is super honorable in some way that makes them the god of something. And he's the god of like bravery and boldness or whatever, and he's seen bravery and courage are like what he's seen as, like that's what he's the god of. So
yeah, courage is definitely one of them, I feel like too. Yeah,
every day the people of Halandran come to these gods with their problems essentially, and it'll be a mother coming and saying her son's got a debilitating illness, he's gonna die really soon, and they're basically all coming there to ask Lightsong to give his life for a person. That's the whole purpose of the gods, is they're supposed to have one particular purpose. They don't know it, but they're supposed to find it in their life in Halandran. And Lightsong, from the moment he wakes up until he finally discovers his purpose and dies, his whole attitude is, I'm not a god.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a god. Like, something's not right. He starts picking up on some of his habits that he's carried over from his previous life, asks his priests about it a lot. And he's just way different than the other gods. And an important thing about him, too, is he's one of the 4 gods that has a 10,000 man dead man army, whatever they're called.
No, what is it? Oh, not Lifeless?
The Lifeless. A lifeless army. So that's really important because one of the whole
Political
plots of this book
part,
is that they're potentially going to go to war with Idris and the royal family, which were the original rulers of Halandrin.
So Lightsong number 1 for you.
Number 1, dude. So in the end, Lightsong discovers that his purpose is to give his life for the God King.
Yeah.
And the build up to that, understanding the God King has been this like sheltered, like uneducated guy.
It's a puppet, yeah.
Just a puppet, just a figurehead that's almost dumb.
Who does have power though?
He's got power, but he can't.
He's a puppet
use
with
it
power, yeah,
because
exactly.
they cut his tongue out. And so when Lightsong gives his life for the God King, not only does it heal the God King and make him more powerful, heal his tongue, give him the ability.
That was a move I didn't see, by the way.
Dude, didn't see it coming. When he sticks his hand out, dude, every hair on my body stood up, and I was like, holy shit, dude. He just found his purpose, and it's for the God King.
I just
and
got
what
chills right there. That was,
dude,
yeah.
what he says to him, he was like, I mean, dude, I gotta find it. You talk for a second so I can pull this quote.
No, I think Lightsong, his chapters to me were definitely some of the most intriguing. I never got to a Lightsong chapter, and I was like, oh, like, dang, like, let me see how many pages this is, like I was with Viv. Also, his development, and, like, there were just so many things that were intriguing about him because he is a god and, like, did a lot of things that were god-esque. But then he, like, did other things that weren't. So, like, I mean, obviously the super hot god that's, like, always crushing on him. And, like, he's just like, nah, I'm good. I mean, he's just kind of savaging her in that way, but at the same time, like, still making good banter, and he's quick-witted. And then obviously, like, his interactions with Siri, I did really like too. He did have a lot of depth, and as far as like character development as someone who like grew the most, I'm sure some people would like try and point to Viv, but like his for sure, it has to be, right. I mean, Siri too, but his like over the whole course of the book, Siri I feel like develops really quick at the beginning, and then he's like, I don't want to say a slow burn because he's doing a lot, but his development is through the whole book. All right, did you find it?
Yeah, so essentially the context of it, and you know this if you've read it, if you haven't and you're spoiling it for yourself, Lightsong and the God King both get captured by the enemy that's been in secret planning this stuff all the time. And the God King can't use his powers because he doesn't have a tongue. Lightsong's been like beaten up or whatever. So, oh man. So, the God King in prison. Lightsong had seen that too, but above it all, he remembered standing on the other side of a brilliant, colorful wave of light, looking down at the world from the other side and seeing everything he loved dissolve into the destruction of war, which are these visions he's having at night. A war greater than any the world had known, a war more deadly even than the mini-war. He remembered the other side, and he remembered a voice calm and comforting, offering him an opportunity to return. By the colors, Lightsong thought, standing up as the priests forced the God King to his knees. They're about to kill the God King. I am a god, Lightsong thinks.
Which he's been denying that the whole time. He's been denying
the whole time. He's finally in this moment saying, I am a god. Lightsong stepped forward, moving up to the bars of his cage. He saw pain and tears in the God King's face and somehow understood him. The man did love Siri. Lightsong had seen the same thing in the Queen's eyes. She had somehow come to care for the man who was to oppress her. You are my king, Lightsong whispered, and the Lord of gods. The pawn-call men forced the God King face down on the stones. One of the priests raised a sword. The God King's arm jutted out, his hand toward Lightsong. I have seen the void, he thought, and I came back. And then Lightsong reached through the bars and grasped the God King's hand. A fake priest looked up with alarm. Lightsong met the man's eyes, then smiled broadly, looking down at the God King. My life to yours, Lightsong said. My breath become yours. And dude, I cried. I was oh my, because it happened so fast.
That just gave me chills again without even, I mean, obviously we have context, but without even the full context of reading that.
I mean, dude, just so powerful. And I don't know if that's a good thing to do on a video, is just read straight out of the book, but dude,
no, I think
it
so.
was
I
just
think
so impactful,
if you're
man.
still in the video at this point, you liked, well, or, yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to hear that, I think.
Yeah, it shook me, man.
Also, were you good at sword drills and Awanas, dude? You found that quick.
I mean, I knew kind of where it was. I mean,
he had it bookmarked.
Got it highlighted.
So, just to round that off,
Lightsong's my favorite character.
Lightsong's your favorite character, okay.
Yeah.
So, the only other POV character we have to talk about is the one I had at 1, which, I mean, I like, honestly, after hearing you talk about it, unbiased, I was going to go Vasher, Siri, Lightsong, Viv. Oh, I even forgot her name, dude. Jesus. And it was tough between Siri and Lightsong, but, dude, now I might have to put Lightsong, because, dude, that was such a good moment.
I mean, powerful, dude. Powerful
But anyway,
moment.
So I have here for Vasher. This is funny that I wrote this. So it says Vasher has cool sword, and then in quotations I have wink to Zeth. And then he hates Denth. He captures Vivenna but doesn't kill her. Has a lot of breath. For me, it was like I'm unsure like what his alliance was like for most of it until like kind of the very end. I had a really good idea because that was one of the things that I think Sanderson like made blatantly obvious, and it wasn't like necessarily a twist.
You know that him and Denth have some kind of epic history. Like
and
something else is going on.
And because of it, you kind of realize like Denth is a really cool character, but there's no way he's on the right side of it.
Right.
Like you kind of at least it wasn't. It hit when Viv walks in and they're like they killed whatever his name was and screws Viv over essentially. But I did kind of see it. It wasn't nearly like what you just read. Really?
I did not see Denth being a traitor. I was completely fooled that this random dude was just helping this girl out left and right. And I felt stupid once it was revealed. I was like, wow, of course he was just fooling her the whole time. But when she walks into that room and they have her friend dead, like with all these wounds.
I mean, that was an epic scene.
Just
for
after
sure.
The friend had left and on the doorstep of the house, he had said to her, Viv, I know you think I'm like dumb and all this
But
stuff.
he liked what's-her-face more, right? Or something like that?
Well, he liked the other girl more now, but he like kind of talks about how he did like her, but like obviously she doesn't want it. So like it's a real like sad moment. And then next thing you know, he's dead.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. But anyway, Vasher.
Some other depth I have is that, and this is getting deep into spoilers, was in love with Sashara, however you say that. That's Den's sister.
And one of the, what are they called?
So she is she's one of the 5 scholars.
The 5 scholars, yep.
So,
which Denth and Vasher are as well.
Exactly. And so he ends up killing her is what we're alluded to. You fact check me if I'm not right.
Yeah, he killed her.
He kills her. I don't know if we get a lot of depth we kind of know why, but we don't know the full scenario, I don't think. Apparently she revealed powerful commands, and then I have i.e. Nightblood. So she was able to awaken lifeless with a single breath.
And then she was able to awaken steel in Nightblood. Which I think that was the big thing that tipped Vasher over is he was like, this out to like give everybody a living sword. Yeah. And the whole world's going to end.
Yeah. So he was my favorite character. I mean, that's fair. You don't even get to really, you have that prologue that's so cool, and then you don't really hear from him for a while. And then when you do, his chapters were so short. And it was a Zeth vibe to me, where it's like, here's these little pieces of a mysterious guy.
But you do understand, once in the end, you kind of understand why Sanderson did that. I was like, okay, there was a lot to reveal here, and you didn't want to give it away. Because, I mean, he is the guy, it turns out.
He's the guy, And the way he's able to maneuver the whole breath thing, I mean, instantly I kind of knew, all right, this guy can't be like everyone else. Like, I knew this dude's got to be super old or, like, from another planet. Like, I knew he wasn't – I knew there was something different. I didn't know, like, fully what that was and towards, obviously towards the end. But, like, from the very beginning, it was like, okay.
When you get the vibe that he's different, too, just based on the fact you learn what Nightblood can do, and he's not using it. He's not trying to use Nightblood. Yeah. Like, he only uses it if he has to, and then he just throws it out there. Like,
which is crazy.
Worst case scenario, just tosses a sword out there for people to kill each other with. But you get the vibe from that alone. I'm like, okay, this can't be a fully evil character, because otherwise he would just be whipping this thing out left and right, slaughtering people. But then, in the end, you do learn that the reason you don't want to use Nightblood is because it's going to suck all the biochromatic breath out of you.
Yeah.
Which
is the only reason he can even handle it a little bit is because he has so much.
Right. Which does bring up, and we're all over the place here, but
you want to go to the levels of awakening?
Yeah.
I have those written down.
Yeah.
So overall for me, where did you have Vasher? You have him at 3 or 2? I can't remember. You said it before.
It's really hard for me to pick if Vasher or Siri is 2, but I'd probably say just because of the ending. Well, I don't know. I don't want to take too much.
What was your unbiased
Siri
before you like really started thinking about it? What was like your gut?
I was gut thinking it was Lightsong, Siri, Vasher, and Viv, and I think I'll stick with that. But it's really hard to put Vasher not at 2. But
that's not a shot against Vasher. It's just we haven't even really talked about Siri.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over her quick. She's such a solid character.
Yeah,
she is.
I agree. All right, so levels of awakening. So type 1 is a human body with sentience, and then type 2 is a human body without sentience. So that would be like the lifeless. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Type 3 is an awakened object with no sentience. So That's like when he's touching his robe or whatever, doing all that.
Right.
And then type 4 is what Vasher kills her for, because I guess she figured out how to do it, which is an awakened object with sentience. So Vasher reveals this information when talking about Nightblood. So that's what Nightblood is. Right. And it kind of infers that maybe there's more, right?
Yes,
or
it does infer that there might be other things that have been given sentience.
So Nightblood might not be the only...
And there's another scholar still out there. Vasher's story ends with him saying he's got to go find that guy that's name starts with an I.
So it's Talaxin, getting really tough on these. Dude, is he one of the 5 scholars?
Yeah, so Talaxin is
is
the guy.
So I have right here 5 scholars. I have Talaxin, Deneth, Sashara, and then these 2 twins, Arsteel and Yesteel. So was Vasher one of them?
Yeah, because remember, he's the one that... he's the one.
Was he the leader or something?
I don't know, because I don't remember Talaxin.
Maybe I wrote that down wrong.
One of the
Someone
twins
fact
you're
check
talking
us in the
about.
comments if we're butchering that.
Yeah, so the twins...
Because they're going after Talaxin.
At the end of the book, he's going after the twin that's name starts with an I. That's the one he mentions.
Yesteel?
Yeah.
Y or an I?
Y.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yesteel.
That's the one that's still alive, and that one's brother, I believe, or maybe it was Denth's brother, is the other one that he killed in the same way he killed Denth, by giving him breath and like shocking him and then slitting his throat.
Dude, I forgot about that. That was a good thing to bring up.
And it was after he
Bold
had exhausted his
Dude,
it was
I totally forgot that.
last ditch effort. And then what's crazy is he does it, and he in the book it says Denth can't control the ecstasy he gets for a moment, so Vasher cuts his throat in that moment and says, "You keep asking me how I killed such and such. Now you know."
Yeah.
It was like,
bro.
Ooh.
Also, this is again jumping around. So that moment's sick. I totally forgot about it. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was such a cool thing. Because it's cool. Did you see that coming? Because I didn't.
No, dude. I thought Vasher was about to die.
Oh, for sure,
I was like, dude, Denth is about to get Nightblood and go crazy.
So the another thing I wrote down here, which I had forgotten about too, so I'm glad I wrote it down. Did you see that the statues throughout the city were the hidden army of Kalad?
Dude.
Because they mention the statues a lot.
A lot.
But I didn't.
I didn't pick that up.
And I should have, though. It was one of those ones, though, when it happened, I was kind of like,
you were
God
like,
dang.
duh.
Yeah.
I felt the same way, but I'm telling you, man, this book, because we've talked about Stormlight, we'll get into it in other videos. And Stormlight, dude, I pick up on so many things really early. This
one was
book
kind of sneaky.
got me, bro.
It was
this book
sneaky.
snuck up on me. In so many ways, bro.
Yeah.
And
it's Vasher that does that, correct?
That does what?
That makes the army. So he is
the guy.
Kalad or whatever.
That's what it is. His name is that's what it is. He's not called Vasher. His 5 scholar name was not originally Vasher.
Okay.
Because remember, Denth says he makes a comment saying he's going by the name Vasher now.
Did
so
we
that's
read
what
the
it
book?
is. Yeah. Shoot, what was I about to say?
You were talking about.
So yeah, he created the army. He's the one that was in charge of it. Then he gives it to the God King. He gives it to Susebron.
Okay.
Old Susebron.
So, all right, I'm going to go over my overall thoughts. So, yeah, that's another wild thing, I guess, to bring up. So, Vasher knows the whole time that the God King is that because he's the one who did that to the God King.
Yes.
Which that was also kind of like oh, wait.
It was an epic moment, though. He says, hey, I left you with something a long time ago, and I'm going to let you keep it. But I'm also going to give you this army. Do better than I did, please. Which is kind of like, I'm so excited to see what the rest of this series looks like because, dude, there's a lot, and we're in spoilers. I'm about to spoil a little bit of Stormlight.
Warning.
You know who Vasher is in Stormlight, right?
Is it Zahel?
Yes.
Dude, I have that in here. Is Vasher Zahel in Stormlight?
Yes, and
dude,
we're not supposed
is he
to really,
actually?
Yeah, that's.
Did you look that up?
No, I thought it, and when I was in Athens, I asked Jake. I said, "Dude,
screw Jake, bro.
He knows all. He knows
dude,
everything.
You got to stop talking to Jake. I'm serious,
he knows
bro.
everything,
because, dude, you said some things to me, and I'm like,
he's been good about not spoiling stuff, but something like that, if I ask him to answer, he's gonna.
Dude, I literally, that's the last thing I have written is Vasher Zahel in Stormlight? Because I thought there were some connections, and then I wish I would have written it down. There was something that happened. I'm like, it can't be. Well, because, and again, now we're really off course. And obviously, I'm ahead of you in Stormlight.
Yes,
but this isn't like spoiling anything for you. But, bro, Zahel's like not in the last 2.
Really?
Bro, he's one of my favorite characters for sure. He's like Zeth, where he doesn't get much, but when he does, it's powerful.
And
he's
something
different.
Going on with
yeah,
this guy.
yeah. This guy has some depth that we're not seeing. But bro, why does he not have Nightblood?
That's
dude?
my whole thing.
He's on a different world, but the same world as Zeth, and doesn't have it.
Yeah, and how did Town get it? Because Town's the one that gives it to.
Yeah.
Or is it Town? No, Nail. I'm sorry.
Nail, yeah.
Nail. How does Nail get it? Because he gives it to Zeth. And here's the other thing. How does it work, dude? How does Nightblood's power, and this is cosmere stuff that we probably just don't know yet. How does his power transfer, and why does Zeth not have to give up breath?
We should have said spoiler for sure. Well, we're not spoiling anything. Well, I guess we're spoiling that Zeth has Nightblood.
We're spoiling Stormlight stuff for sure.
Yeah, but that's the only thing. I was thinking, he's a character. We haven't said anything. Nothing really happens with Zahel. It's just that he's in Stormlight.
No, but with Zeth, it just ruined a huge thing. Because Zeth is
We'll go back and put a pretty big...
in the beginning of his story.
No. Wait, you know that Zeth has Nightblood, right?
Yeah, he gets it at the end of Words of Radiance.
You kind of scared me for a second there.
Nail throws it on the ground.
Yeah.
Zeth picks it up, and then it says, are you ready to destroy some evil? Which...
The voice is fire.
The voice is fire.
Talking swords are fire.
The voice is a male. For some reason, I thought it was a female.
How do you know that? I thought it was a female, too.
No, it says it's a... Look that up first. Because I swear to God, I thought it was a female.
I'm not editing that, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Duh.
I'm going to keep it as a female, honestly. I like it more as a female.
I like it more as a female.
I don't know if I think that, too, because I know I've told you about it, but another book that has a talking sword is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. Mm-hmm. Great book. And I love that. It makes it a companion, which in this one, it's more of a thing. Like, it talks more. Because I will say, Nightblood doesn't get much time.
Right.
She gets more, like, later on, you'll see, for sure, in Stormlight. But I love that. Like, that. I think that's such a creative way to... add development, especially in something that doesn't have a moral system, but it still like feels real.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it can kind of balance out someone who does have a moral system.
Yeah.
But now he has to kind of play. He's almost handcuffed because he can't really do what he wants to do.
Right.
Because he's scared because this thing doesn't know right and wrong. It thinks it does,
right.
And that's what's cool that it talks about in the book.
That's a really cool thing I like in the book is some of Nightblood's responses and how Sanderson explains that Nightblood doesn't actually fully understand good and evil. Mm-hmm. And Vasher talks about that. He explains, like, we didn't think about the fact that if we just give something...
Because that was the command, right? Like, destroy evil. Yeah.
But it's like, how does this thing know what evil is?
Yeah.
So, it's a really cool concept. And it's like it's got a deeper meaning. I feel like it's Sanderson in that kind of making a broad point of, like obviously we would think we have a better moral compass to know what is good and evil, but it is a perspective thing. It's like,
oh yeah,
and he makes a good point in that to be like, do you know, like, how do you decide what is evil and what needs to be destroyed? Because Vasher's basically not letting this thing do anything because he doesn't trust it at all. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting concept with Nightblood's purpose being to destroy evil, but actually being a very dangerous and what could be seen as an evil sentient object.
I have here too. I just want to know where he was at because it says it was 300 years after the mini war, which that's when all of that goes down.
What's up, Jeb?
Hey, Jeb. You want to step in front of there and say hey? Nice. Because the mini war happens. Vasher does the whole thing with the soldiers making them into stone, hiding that army there, and then does the whole thing with the God King, and then there's kind of peace or whatever 300 years. But where, I know obviously we're not going to get those answers in Warbreaker, but I don't know if you read more into that, and read something that I didn't. It didn't give us any context of where he was at, right?
No, I think it kind of might briefly just say that he's basically just been kind of roaming the land and trying to not... I think his whole purpose the last 300 years has been trying to not let something like the mini war happen again.
Yeah.
Which is why he comes to Halandrin.
It starts off with him not really having much breath, and he has to steal a lot of breath from that one guy. So clearly he did something probably to not have a lot of breath.
Yeah, I totally
or maybe he just didn't have a lot. But it's unlikely that a guy of his skill just is 300 years with not a lot of breath.
Yeah.
I just don't buy into that. The other thing I have written is to know more about Gal. I may not be like pronouncing that right, but that's that third country involved, and those are those people who, which that guy's name is, I don't even have his name. Yeah,
Cal,
who ends up being the
like that was the twist that really got me, dude. I mean, I'm thinking the priests.
I didn't think it was the priest too.
Like I thought the priest for sure.
Well, I mean, he was hyping up the priest the whole time.
Yeah,
so it was like
it was a bait and switch.
It was.
But looking back, there are moments where you can kind of go, okay, yeah, this guy was like setting up, trying to get trust from Siri and all that kind of thing.
But he was gonna try and bring Siri and them too. He just thought that, or am I remembering wrong? It's just that Siri actually liked the God King, so like she didn't actually need saving because they were gonna try and like kill everybody and then get her out too, right?
I think he would have been fine with getting her. No. Remember, he says that she has to die too because he wants the war to happen. His whole goal is that Halandrin and Idris go to war so that they're both decimated, so that Call can rise to the top. So he wants to kill the God King to start the war, kill her to give Idris a for sure reason to get into the war.
Okay.
So yeah, and he is sad about it. He's got like tears in his eyes. He's like, I'm sorry, like. This is
especially because she helps them out. I mean, without her, this doesn't even happen. So he plays her hard.
She unknowingly makes Call the main servants of her whole entourage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she gets in deep with the wrong people.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. She does a good job though of playing the political game with like basically no political experience at all. I think, especially with the gods and her kind of connecting. The dots of like, hey, Lightsong, someone I should, which obviously, just for the plot has to happen. And then, it leads to, one of my favorite characters of all time too, getting a nice little cameo with her asking for the history.
I loved that cameo. I love
good
that
cameo.
And it was cool how Sanderson made it clear that this guy looks like this guy's
he
trying
was
to
kind of
look
old or something. Yeah.
Well, it says when Siri looks at him, like at first it looks like an old man, but when he gets closer, she realizes. He doesn't have old features on his face, and he looks like a fit man. Like she basically says, like it looks like a young person with old white hair on their face.
And spoiler for if someone hasn't finished the words Radiance, how does that end? How does that end with Wit?
He's waiting there, and then Jasmine just shows up. He's waiting there for Jasmine.
Okay, but nothing else.
Yeah, he walks off, and he's basically like, let me catch you up on what's going on.
Maybe it's the end of Oathbringer then.
He's like, your girl Shallan already did everything you were trying to do.
So bad, dude.
Don't, you can't.
Tell you so bad. You all know what I'm talking about too with Wit. God, that's so unfortunate. But yeah. And then he does some cool oh, dude, there's so much you don't know about Stormlight that makes me so mad, bro. That breath just directly applies to, man. So once you know this.
The biochromatic breath.
Yeah, bro.
All
but
right,
only with Wit.
Well, shut up.
Well, maybe not. God, it's so unfortunate.
I just can't wait to see Adeline get his sprint. So anything else on Warbreaker?
All right, so
one of the best moments, again, I'll just reiterate, the moment with Lightsong is one of my favorite moments I've ever read in a book.
That was great.
It impacted me heavily because, again, just the whole time, man.
It was a switch.
It was a super switch,
because
but
you think he's onto something that maybe they're not seeing, and it's really a trap.
He's wrong.
By him going down the tunnel and him being, and he's like, bro, you were not a detective.
No.
You're what was he, a secretary or something?
He was something super, like, he did.
Not.
He was particular, but it was about,
like, an accountant, maybe.
An accountant, essentially.
Yeah.
But, oh, man, that was heavy, dude. You find out that Larimar is his brother, and he uses his real person name in the end, and you're just like,
because he finally breaks character.
Finally breaks. He's like, you were my brother. You saved my daughter. I'm getting chills again, bro.
Oh.
So good. So yeah, that was super impactful.
And then I'm glad you brought up the whole Vasher fight scene with Denth and how he gives him his breath to kill him.
And then, I'm thinking of Edge Dancer. Never mind.
How dare you? How dare you do that? But the other character, I forgot his name, who I actually really liked, was the Denth's like sidekick.
It's like Tok'Fa or something.
Yeah.
Weird.
And he has the weird like fetish with killing animals and stuff.
And torture.
He's the one that kind of gave it away for me.
Yeah, that in hindsight, it's like blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Which at first you'd think it's the other girl who like is a Deadeye. Is that what it's called? Or no, that's
She's a
Deadeye is something different. Never mind.
That's something different.
That's
She's
something in another book.
She's whatever the word is for having no breath.
Do you know what a Deadeye is? Never mind. Anyway, you will. Read Oathbringer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, whatever she is. She's the one who, like, I thought it was like, oh, they're trying to bait us to make it super obvious, and then this other guy's like more of a mysterious reason why. But yeah, it is kind of cool how he plays the political game as well, with how she's trying to help Idris in a way, and then it almost like hurts Idris actually.
Yeah.
Viv, that is. And I guess that's why I just don't like her character either. It's like, I guess she's trying, but it's like she's not really thinking about what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's just assuming the answers are very textbook and clear without realizing like the real world of life, which I mean just kind of is how it is. Which I do like that Sanderson adds that complexity too, but which I guess was kind of cool and fascinating. I did kind of like the parts where like she is like a street urchin basically. Mm-hmm. That little part I did. There were some ups. I will say I'm dunking on Viv, and now I'm like remembering some moments where like there are some cool moments.
It was just a brief period of time, dude, when I was frustrated with her because she kept just going back and forth and like didn't want to use her breath, all this different stuff, and it's just like, please just develop.
Well, dude, the one guy, the one lifeless, I mean, basically almost gets killed for her, and that was when a point when I'm like, okay, what's actually happening?
That was really interesting, actually. Yeah.
So, but now I'm thinking about that. Why did they do? So, what was their goal with her? They were going to use her for what? So, why did Dent want the mini war to start?
I think he just kind of. I can't remember. I think he kind of just wanted things to get decimated, honestly. But he was working for. He was working for the Pawn Call, wasn't he? He may not have been. But all I know is that
I'm confused on him now. But yeah.
He was basically, he saw Viv's plan for what it was. He knew that rather than...
It was never going to work.
Well, he knew that it was just going to cause dissension and make the war more likely when she thought it was going to make it less likely.
Is it more him just being a mercenary and trying to get paid, or no?
I think it might have been.
But he also... because he was taking payment from...
Remember, he's in the Court of the Gods or whatever.
So they're paying him.
He's working for Pawn Call.
Yeah. How did we forget that? Okay, yeah.
I mean, did we even read
It's been a while, okay, folks. It's been a while. Yeah. Overall, though, would you recommend this book?
Oh, 100%. Jeb, you should definitely read this book. Yeah, definitely read it, especially if you're not, again, like you said at the top, if you're not trying to get into a 1,300-page endeavor with the Stormlight Archive.
But you should.
I mean, you definitely should, but if you're not ready for it yet and you'd like to just expose yourself to the writing of Sanderson, read Warbreaker, and you will want to read everything else.
But also, if you were like me and you were not going to read these, but you've read the other Stormlight, you have to read it.
Oh yeah, if you've read a lot of other Sanderson and not this,
especially Stormlight. I mean, I'm sure there's even more applications to Mistborn, we just don't know about it. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, especially if you've read Words of Radiance, you have to.
Yeah, you got to read it. So yeah, overall, I mean, again, it was a 5 out of 5, probably an 8.59 out of 10. Like I said, one of the best moments in a book I've read with Lightsong so far.
That was a good moment.
Yeah, and just an honorable mention as far as characters. Susebron was awesome, dude.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Susebron.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him because he doesn't talk until the end of the book, but such a good character, man. I really liked how he ended up being this sheltered, like literally almost stupid person.
But in some ways, he's not, though.
No, like
he's
stupid,
he should be really stupid, and like he actually does kind of get it.
Well, yeah, I mean stupid in the sense that he can't read or write.
Yeah, no,
like,
I get what you're
saying. He's aesthetically.
But he has more like, it's like, all right, you kind of see where he shouldn't get a lot of things, but he is like, he's kind of there, and it is kind of wild to think that he was right the whole time.
Yeah, he was. He was like, I don't think the priests are bad.
And you're like, oh, you're just naive.
You're naive, Brandon.
Dude, yeah, that was a good line by Sanderson, dude, to make it, because it's such an easy train to follow.
Yes.
It's like he doesn't know any better.
Yep.
But, yeah.
And he didn't, but he just was right. He was right.
Which we didn't talk about Susebron or Siri a lot, but, I mean, they're obviously great characters, too. I guess I guess death does occur, but not like directly around them, so it's not like as far as action.
Yeah, their whole story till the end is a political story.
But it is good.
It's really good. it was really cool how, because she spends days like not realizing this, and then finally after all this time she's like,
dude,
I have a tongue.
I don't know why I just realized like what you were referring to before about how this is Sanderson's work where he alludes to stuff without talking about it. I don't know why that like totally escaped me.
Well,
the whole like sex thing with her and Susebron.
And then you also have every mention of Blushweaver. You're hearing about her thighs and
and her tits just in your face.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, all these like scanty clothes. Like, I love Blushweaver. And then, dude, she just gets her throat absolutely slit, dude, in that scene in the end.
You hate to see it, man.
Which was a dagger too, because
her breath's gone.
But
right?
She was, it's gone.
She doesn't give it away.
No, she doesn't give it. It's gone. So, not only that, but like, she was kind of right too, to be trying to, like, not to go against Idris, but to like, I wouldn't say she's kind of right, but the whole time, I should say this, the whole time I'm reading the book, I'm thinking Blushweaver is on the absolute wrong track, and to a degree she was, but then you find out she was on the wrong track, but she wasn't on like the bad track. She was just didn't know the truth and got caught up, and now she's dead and her throat got cut. Like, she just got absolutely caught up. But she kind of did it to herself, because she ended up getting all that control of those lifeless armies. So that's why they wanted her, because they did end up getting her command. Which is why those lifeless armies end up charging on Idris, and then the God King sends his new army after him and stops him, or you assume that happens.
That is true. The way it ends,
don't necessarily know. You just know what everybody's intentions are.
So to end the book, where is everybody at again? Do we remember? So where is Vasher?
It ends quick. Vasher just says he leaves everything to the God King, to Susebron, as far as the breath and the not the breath.
The soldiers.
And then him and Viv go off to find Scholar's name that starts with a Y. Because he says he's the last one other than me.
So do they like each other?
I think there's probably going to be something like that in the future. They definitely give off the vibe that they start off, disliking each other, kind of petty, whatever.
And so that leaves Siri and Susebron to kind of be the king-queen action going on.
And they've got major power now. I mean, we have no idea what Susebron can do.
Well, he doesn't either.
So that's like the big question. Now he has a tongue. Boy's about to be commanding.
So who is, the thing is, did they kind of say who's even controlling these other lifeless? I guess just the command itself is controlling the lifeless?
Yeah, they just gave him a command, and the command specifically stated, like, do this and don't stop. Like, no other command can stop you. So you know that the army that Vasher gave to Susebron is going to have to go and like fight it out to the death, and you don't know if they're
gonna get there
already at Idris, because they're like a day behind or some crap. But anyway, that's where the main people are left off. Vasher and Viv together, Susebron and Night King, the God King together. You don't really know anything about Idris or what's going on. The gods that you know other than the God King are dead, between Blushweaver and Lightsong.
So the second book is called Nightblood.
Really?
Supposedly on Goodreads, which you know how like sometimes they'll post books on Goodreads and it's like
not real.
Yeah, not real at all.
I'm excited for that. I'd be surprised if your phone's still alive, by the way.
It might be. I hope so. All right. Well,
so sounding off, 5 out of 5, highly recommend.
Same.
Sanderson's great. Really good one-off for the time being. It'll be a series eventually, but that is It's Lit book reviews on Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson.
Yes, sir. Thank you for watching.
Peace.